It is a gloomy day outside today.
Time for soup?
Ooh! We have butternut squash.
Perfect.
Let's do it. Hey everyone, my name is James and welcome back to my kitchen. Today we are going to be making a rich and creamy butternut squash soup, and to go along with it we're also going to be making some garlic bread croutons. This meal is going to be insanely delicious and I'm also pretty hungry, so let's get started. Who the heck was that? What are we talking about? What are we talking about?
Mise en place.
Oh yeah. So now to get the butternut squash soup started, we're going to get started with our mirepoix, which, very typical of mirepoix, we're going to do an onion, a couple carrots, and some celery. And also, look at this carrot. Must have like grown around a rock or something. We need some garlic, a whole bunch of thyme, and some lemon as well. This is going to be a very tasty soup. And all the veg, we definitely want to make sure that we get a nice small dice on all of them. What's always really helpful to have is a nice sharp knife, and if it's heavy as well, it makes it even easier. I'm just going to dice away. Oh, and now the carrot and, peel it. At the top or the bottom? Now we're gonna go ahead and dice up our celery. And like everything when you're dicing, just break it down into smaller bits before you go in to do the actual dice. Makes it much easier and you have much more control over it. And also, this is also home cooking as well, so if it's not perfect, don't worry about it. The soup is going to be pureed at the end, so the garlic doesn't have to be perfectly minced. You can just give it a good smash. Take out your aggression. Just think of all those passive-aggressive work emails you get. Works out very well. And then just remove the papery exterior. But you know how to use garlic. And then the other aromatic that we're going to be using is some fresh thyme. And add a nice earthiness to the soup. Feel free to use other herbs as well. This is herb that I have in my fridge right now. That'll go really nicely with butternut squash. And I just like to give it a little tie together. We're also going to use some lemon zest inside the soup. And easiest way to hold on to it is just to zest it upside down and then collect all the zest inside the grates here. So now it's time that we peel and dice the butternut squash, which, if you're not used to dicing squashes this big, it can seem a little intimidating. After all, it does seem like it's rolling all over the place. It's gonna be really difficult to get through. You just have to take this in stages. Take it one step at a time and you'll be able to break it down easy peasy, and you'll be able to keep all your fingers as well. So the first step is we're gonna take our vegetable peeler and carefully peel the skin off. And don't worry about getting all the skin. Just, again, take it in stages. Do the top, flip it around, do the bottom. Easy peasy. Success with part one, squash is peeled. Now there are two parts when it comes to dicing the butternut squash. There's the top part, or whatever that's called, the neck, top part, stem, whatever. This is solid all the way through. Down here where it becomes bulb-like, has all the seeds inside it, which is what we have to scoop out. So what I like to do is take a sharp knife, just lay it down flat, then slice it in half. Set this aside, we'll deal with it later. And then for the top part, dice off the top, where the stem was, and then just carefully dice into planks, keeping your fingers away from your knife. Basically just try to work on the biggest, flattest surface that you can as you're dicing it. Now we get to deal with the bottom part of the squash, and step number one, slice it in half. And these are the seeds that we were talking about before, which we need to scoop out. Take a big spoon, just scoop them all out. And get them all over the floor as well. I'll vacuum later, I promise. Then just nip off the root end of each one. And then I just like to go ahead and dice them into planks. And then just keep them all up. And there we have it. Butternut squash diced into a nice bite-sized piece. And we still have all 10 fingers. I think that's a success. got our Dutch oven over medium-ish heat. We're gonna go in with a couple tablespoons of butter. And then we're gonna drizzle in a little bit of olive oil as well. So that's pretty much all melted down, so now we're gonna go in with our mirepoix. So the onions, carrot, and celery, all right into the pot. 99% of it into the pot. 98.5% into the pot. %. And then we're doing this on a medium-high heat, so shouldn't have to worry about them burning or browning. They're swelling down, becoming translucent, softened, all the good things in life. And this should take about 5 to 7 minutes.
Wait a minute, I'm not recording.
It's always one.
Now I am.
Okay. So now the mirepoix has had a chance to sweat down. Onions are nice and translucent. Carrots and celery are tender. They taste delicious. I wasn't snacking on them. Don't know why you would ask such a crazy question. Anyway, now before we go in and add squash, we're going to go ahead and add our bundle of thyme and our crushed garlic. Pop in our lemon zest. Another little pinch of salt. And some black pepper. Give it a quick stir.
I have the fragrance both somebody else.
Hi, Apple. Hi, Apple.
Apple.
Apple, look up. Hey. There. I think that's where it was before. So this is smelling nice and tasty. And again, we are also on medium, lowish heat, so I'm not super worried about anything burning. We're gonna go add in our butternut squash carefully. And give this a stir through. And shockingly, another little pinch of salt. And you always want to be seasoning as you're cooking. This way you end up actually using less salt, but it's more flavorful because each step of the process had a little bit of flavor built up onto it. So now that we got all this in, now it's time to add in our liquid and let it come up to a boil, reduce it to a simmer, and let it go until the butternut squash is super nice and tender. Okay, so now I got the soup brought up to a boil, and we are reducing it down to a simmer now. And you might have noticed that when I put the liquid in, it was only water, it wasn't stock or anything. And that was because I ran out. We don't have to dive into that, but if you're ever in a similar predicament to me where you're out of the delicious homemade stock, you can always just use something like chicken base or vegetable base. Basically just super condensed chicken stock or vegetable stock. You just take some of that and put it into the soup or the stew or the sauce, and this will help give it a nice depth of flavor, make it nice and flavorful, almost like you're using chicken stock. I'm just going to give this a stir and let it simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes, and we'll be ready to serve it. We do need some croutons though. So the soup is simmering nicely over on the back stove, and now we're going to get started on turning this, I guess, loaf of bread into some garlic croutons. So, garlic butter croutons. Nice and easily, just going to tear it up into bite-sized pieces. It's not too hot. I'm going to add in some crushed garlic. I'm just using a clove. I want it to be garlicky, but I don't want it to be prohibitively garlicky. And then I have some chopped up thyme. And then this is unsalted butter, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a pinch of salt. And then a couple crackles of black pepper. And just give it a stir. Break up the garlic a little bit. Now I'm just going to take the garlic, herb, and butter mixture. I'm just going to pour it right on over the croutons. And then just give them a toss together. Sometimes hands just work the best. Now, on a parchment lined packing sheet, let's go ahead and dump them out. Anyway, I have a 425-degree oven and let it cook anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes or until all the pieces are nice, golden brown, and delicious. Great news! The butternut squash is super tender. And now I'm just going to give it a little taste Make sure the seasoning is just right where we want it to be. Oh, that's good. Okay, so the seasoning is perfect. So I'm just gonna go ahead, carefully remove the thyme stem. Now you can either do this in a food processor, in a blender, or if you have an immersion blender, one of these will work as well. And I'm just gonna go ahead and just blitz it up until we have a nice consistency. I don't want it smooth like baby food, but smooth but with a little texture. That makes sense. Smooth but with texture. So I got this all nice and blended up now. Smooth, still has some texture. It's looking beautiful. I'm gonna give it another taste. Make sure that our seasoning is still good. That is really good. You can really get the sweetness of the butternut squash, and then the aromatics from the mirepoix and the garlic and the thyme come through nicely as well. There is one more thing that we're gonna add. Just gonna add a little drizzle of heavy cream, just to help bring it together a little bit more, balance out all the flavors. Probably go in with about a quarter to a third of a cup. Or to your heart's content. My heart wants a little more. And of course, one more taste. That's perfect.
Rolling.
Hi! It's time to plate up some soup, or pour up some soup. However we call it. Soup time. You didn't see that. I'm just going to do a little drizzle of heavy cream around the top of it, and there goes that. I'm just going to do some fresh thyme over the top as well. And last but not least, the croutons that we made before. And here we have it. Some delicious butternut squash soup, some homemade garlic bread croutons. So here we go. Here it goes. This is so good. It's rich, it's creamy, the sweetness of the butternut squash comes through beautifully. The croutons are such a nice contrast. They're crunchy, delicious, kind of get softened by the soup. It'll also be perfect for dipping in there as well. But the soup is delicious. It's a great addition to any main course. It's a great lunch. If you were to have a panini, like let's say with some chicken, some garlic, some cheese, and you were dipping it into the soup, it would be perfect. Ooh. Does that sound good, Apple? Yeah? Okay. Well, anyway, I have a lot more soup to eat. This is delicious. I'm gonna go munch on some more of those croutons, and I cannot wait to see you all again next time. Let me know if you make this soup, how it turns out, and what your favorite comfort food soup is in the comments down below. See y'all later.